Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on the Sitcom Showdown. So Steve, it's good to be back, and what have you got for us as your entry into the Hall of Fame this time around?
Today, we're going to Canada.
Are we really?
We are.
Oh.
We're going to watch an episode of Corner Gas.
Corner Gas?
Corner Gas, which is a beloved Canadian sitcom.
I've never heard of Corner Gas.
That's awesome.
Okay, well, yes, well, tell us more.
This episode's called Poor Brent.
Right.
Brent being, well, one of the main characters in the sitcom. It's Season 2 and Episode 6.
Okay.
So Corner Gas, to give you a rundown, it takes place in a small town called Dog River in, is it a province? Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's all about the antics of folk in the community there. In particular, like I mentioned before, Brent Leroy is one of the main characters. He's the proprietor of Corner Gas, which is what we would call a service station. But American folk, North American folk might call it a gas station.
A gas station. We're getting a gas station theme in recent episodes, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
Oh.
And this is the only one for 60 kilometres or 37 miles in any direction.
Okay.
They've got the market cornered. Also working at Corner Gas is Wanda Dollard, who I've described as the smartest cookie in town.
Okay.
She seems to be operating at a level above.
Is she the normal person in this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not the only. They're not too far off normal, most of them.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Right.
She also works at Corner Gas. Now, right next to Corner Gas, and I don't know if this is a common setup, there's a diner.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to be connected in some way and have maybe even share some toilets.
Oh.
So there's constant
flow between the two.
Yeah, so there's a lot of scenes at the diner. And the character who runs the diner, which is Lacey, she inherited it from her aunt Ruby, who passed away. Oh. And so she comes into Corner Gas a lot, and Brent and Wanda and everyone in the town really also goes to the diner a lot. So,
do we know, Steve, sorry to interrupt, if at the beginning of this show's history, the first episode might be one in which she comes in as a new character having inherited it?
Yeah, so the pilot is basically Lacey reopening the Ruby.
Ah.
And being a small town, all these people are thinking, what's this going to be? Like, who's this person? How's this going to be? Will it be like it was when Ruby ran it and all this sort of stuff?
Oh.
And Lacey is I've only watched about half of Corner Gas at this point.
Yeah.
But she is the outsider character.
Ah.
And a lot of the episodes around her struggle to kind of fit in the town.
Ah.
She moved from Toronto. To Dog River.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So some of the other characters that you see all the time are Hank, which is Brent's childhood friend and an all-round slacker.
Oh.
He doesn't seem to be gainfully employed. So he turns up for a chin wag.
And hangs around.
Corner Gas all the time.
Ah.
And often has a coffee in the Ruby but never pays for it, and that kind of thing. Brent's parents, Oscar and Emma. Oscar's a bit of a grumpy fella.
Oh.
His catchphrase is to call someone a jackass.
Right.
And Emma's a formidable kind of a character.
Well, she'd have to be to put up with Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll see plenty of that in the episode we're about to watch. And then there's the town's police, Davis and Karen, who never really seem to be busy. There's certainly not a lot of crime going on in Dog River. And they're very friendly with the rest of the town folk. So that gives you an overview. All the characters, one of the things I like about this is all the characters are likeable.
Ah.
Like there's sarcasm throughout the show, but I feel like if I visited Dog River, I could sit down in the Ruby and have a coffee with any of them and be happy to spend time there, even though they'd be probably mercilessly taking the mickey out of me.
Oh. And
I think it's important to have some likeable characters, at least a few in a sitcom, because there's plenty of examples where, like Seinfeld, for instance, Great sitcom, and I'm sure we'll cover it at some point in the future, but yeah, not really all that likeable. So this was on the CTV network in Canada, and I think, did I say before, it's 6 seasons it ran for?
No.
Between 2004 and 2009. And just to show you how popular Corn and Gas was, it had a movie made of it in 2014, and they're actually making an animated series now.
Oh, so the movie thing, which maybe we can discuss another day, that seems to be quite a common thing.
Oh, really?
Or maybe not common. I don't know if in Canada perhaps more so than here, because, of course, the Trailer Park Boys, also Canadian sitcom, have had their own movie.
Huh.
And the Pizza series of sitcom of Australia, they've had a couple of movies with Housos and Pizza and all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure there's plenty of other sitcoms intimate. Well, Dad's Army is another one, of course. Actually, probably not all that common, but it's been done.
It's been done.
Oh. So what about, is there anyone I'd recognise from Corner Gas star power-wise?
No.
No.
If you were Canadian, you'd probably know most, if not all, of the
cast.
The cast. Brent Butt, who plays Brent, he's a stand-up comedian, and he was the creator of Corner Gas, as well as one of the writers and the executive producer. His wife, Nancy Robertson, she plays Wanda, and after Corner Gas wound up, she was the lead in another sitcom called Hiccups. Fred Ewenick, Fred, I hope I haven't mangled your name there, he plays Hank. He's a very funny guy, and he also played the lead in a later sitcom which was called Dan for Mayor.
I've not heard of any of these, to my shame.
I'd like to go back and have a closer look at these ones, maybe when I finish Corner Gas. And Janet Wright, who plays Emma, she passed away last year, sadly. Lacey Burrows was played by Gabrielle Miller. Oscar was played by Eric Peterson. Davis by Lorne Cardinal. And Karen, Tara Spencer-Nan. And this episode was written by Mark Farrell and Paul Mather.
So you said one of the actors' name was Lorne, and so that might be the second only Lorne I've ever heard of. Lorne Green, obviously, being the first one.
Yep.
Of Battlestar Galactica fame and other things. So is this the second Lorne you've come across? Or
not a common name in Australia at all.
No. Point of interest. So what's your personal background of discovering this sitcom, Steve?
Well, a long time ago, a guy from church, Mark, he gave me a disc with some Corner Gas episodes on it.
Yeah.
And I watched a couple, but never got around to watching the rest before he took the disc back off me because he wanted to give it to someone else. But when I was thinking of good sitcoms from outside of the UK and the US, this was one of the first ones that jumped to mind. So, yeah, I hopped onto YouTube, and thankfully all the episodes are there.
Oh.
And I've just been working my way through them ever since, and this is the best episode I've found to date.
Excellent.
Yeah, really loved it. So happy to share that with you. So I'm currently in season 3 at the moment, so roughly about halfway through.
How many episodes per season?
Yeah, that seems pretty variable. So there was only 9 or 10. There was a fairly short run in the first season, but then the second one was, I think, 18.
Right.
Something like that. I'm not sure yet about the others, but there wasn't a noticeable drop in quality or anything like that in the second season. It was really good.
Oh, good. So before we actually go ahead and watch this, is it worth discussing the nature of second seasons in sitcoms? By which I mean, you write the sitcom and you haven't cast the actors. And then, of course, you cast them, you do all of the first series, and then by the time you get around to writing the second series, you know who the actors are playing it and you can play to their strengths. Plus, when you go to film it, the actors have already been doing it for a season. They've had the reaction come in, hopefully, if they broadcast enough of the first season. They know what works and what doesn't. So second series or second seasons tend to be really, really strong. And you can start to play on the expectations that you set up in the first season. And you can occasionally throw in jokes that are against type of that character. And you can also expand out your fringe characters a little bit more. So I tend to find that a lot of second series are really, really good.
Yep. No, I think there's something to that, definitely. I don't know that that's the case in Corner Gas. I think the characters seem to be pretty similar from the first to second seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's numerous sitcoms where that's exactly the case, what you've just outlined there. Well, should we watch it?
I think we should.
Okay, great.
Hey, Davis.
Hey, Brent. I had some extra groceries, so You have a big TV.
Yep.
It's huge.
That's what big means.
So you're not poor.
A man with a big screen TV is never poor. Hey, what's with the groceries?
Oh, it's a police community relations thing. Every now and then we randomly give somebody groceries. Thank you for your cooperation in this program.
Man, I'm having a good week. Oh, hey, don't tell Hank about the...
No, yeah, I know you don't want him inviting himself over all the time. Did you get kickboxing on this thing? It's on the digital channels.
Oh, yeah, I want to get those, but, I just dropped a ton of dough on the TV, so...
So if you had more money, you'd get the digital channels, then I could come over and watch kickboxing, right?
Sure. How can I say no to a man who brought me lentils?
So let me give you a synopsis of the episode we've just watched. You could break it down into 3 storylines. The first one is Brent contemplating buying a large screen TV.
Yep.
But he decides he's going to keep this hush-hush. Otherwise his mates are going to be coming around, or particularly Hank is going to be coming around all the time to watch TV, keeping him up all hours of the night, that sort of thing. So he tells Wanda not to say anything about that, which results in this... for a number of reasons, this complete misunderstanding on Hank's behalf that Brent is actually poor. One of the misunderstandings is caused because Brent has gone to sell his old TV at the second-hand shop, or the junk shop, I think it's called. And so he's in there to sell the TV, and the store owner is telling him about how his dog's just died, Mr. Scratchy's died. So they're both really sad about that. So what Hank sees looking through the window of the shop is both of them emotional, and Brent's being handed $50 for selling his TV. So
and looking very upset at the same time.
Looking very upset. So yeah, there's a whole sequence of these misunderstandings that gives Hank the impression that Brent's poor. Another one was they're at the pub, and the guys are looking over at Brent, who's sitting there with Wanda. Brent's got his glasses off, and he's kind of rubbing his hands up against his eyes, and kind of they think he's crying or something like that, and telling Wanda how bad life is because he's poor. But he's actually saying to her, "Oh, my eyes! I think I'm getting really sore eyes from this TV, and I've got Burt Reynolds burnt on my retinas," which was pretty funny. So they decide they've got to help poor Brent out. So one of the things they do is Hank sets up this swear jar in Corner Gas to raise some money. Meanwhile, Wanda's decided she's going to make some money by selling jewellery, and Lacey she's being nice to Wanda. She decides she's going to buy some. She doesn't ask the price first, and Wanda sells her this amethyst pendant for $80, which seems pretty steep. And of course, the next day, Lacey opens up this magazine and discovers that exactly the same pendant is on sale through this ad in the magazine for $60. So she's just
not happy
about this, and she's trying to subtly at the start let Wanda know what's going on.
Too subtly,
yeah, definitely. So she comes up with these more and more elaborate and desperate ways of getting the message across. Like she's buying loads and loads of jewellery and saying, can you believe I got all this jewellery for this much? And yeah, but none of that works. And then in the third storyline, Oscar and Emma are getting into this tit-for-tat situation where they're not doing things for each other, which is kicked off when Emma leaves the lid off the sugar bowl, and Oscar decides he's had 35 years married and I've had enough of this.
He does no longer want to take responsibility for always being the one to put the lid back on the bloody sugar bowl.
Yeah, I'm not covering for you anymore.
The free ride is over.
The free ride is over. Of course, he's just on a hiding to nothing in this downward spiral of not doing things for each other.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and there's this scene where he's decided that in response to something she's done, he's going to start going nude around the house. And he comes home one day and undresses and decides he's going to surprise her by walking around the corner and saying, "Hey, here I am." And of course she's invited this group of ladies over for afternoon tea or something like that. And he's completely embarrassed. It was pretty obvious where it was going. It was pretty funny.
It was. And he should have owned it by parading around. But he turned heel and slunk off, with his tail between his legs. Poor guy.
Yeah.
He was all embarrassed.
Exactly. Then towards the end of the show, all these things are resolved in, one scene in particular, where Brent is adding up the contents of the swear jar, which has been accumulating for a while. And he says, "Oh, look, this town, what does he say? Something like it's a potty mouth town or something like that." I wouldn't believe it. He's got $20 in this swear jar. Wanda goes, "Oh, you got $20. You didn't know you had. No, how about buying some jewellery?"
I'm having a closing out sale, yeah.
Having a closing out sale, and he says, "Oh, what, that's stupid. What am I going to spend $20 on jewellery for?" And she says, "What about Lacey?" He says, "Yeah, I know she's been upset about something, but I'm not exactly sure what." So he decides he's going to give Wanda the $20 for the jewellery, at which point Lacey comes in, and because none of the subtleties have worked, she just decides she's going to absolutely let rip about this situation.
Oh, yeah.
And she starts swearing, and this freight train goes past, and
very conveniently.
Yeah, the horn can very conveniently bleeps that out. But, of course, Wanda feels bad once she realises what's happened.
Does she?
That she's,
I thought she...
If she didn't feel bad about it, she wouldn't have given the money back, would she?
I thought she was a bit unrepentant, but begrudgingly did the right thing.
You might be right about that. So she gives the $20 difference between the cost of the two pendants, gives the $20 to Lacey. And of course, she's just had a huge swear, so she has to put the $20 into the swear jar, which Brent's holding out.
Yeah.
And then Brent takes the $20 out of the swear jar, gives it to Wanda to pay for the jewellery, and then...
That he's just bought for Lacey.
Yeah.
To cheer her up.
Yeah. And then he gives that to her, and she's like looking at this bracelet going, "Well, what just happened?"
Yeah, she should feel like she's had a win. But of course...
Oh, she got it off her chest.
Yeah. She's got a bit of jewellery.
She's got a bit of jewellery. I think she's a bit over jewellery at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
And then in the final scene, Oscar's complaining about something having gotten into the sugar bowl, which of course was the very thing he was complaining about, which started it all off. He's complaining about it, and he shows Emma and says, "Look at this. Look what's gotten into the sugar bowl." And she comes over and has a look, and of course he's bought some of the jewellery off of Lacey and put it into the sugar bowl for her. And so they make up.
And everything's resolved. Yep, except he hasn't got his pants on.
No, he gets told to put his pants on.
Yeah.
But he walks off complaining about how he'll be hot if he puts his pants on.
Yep. Yes, well, there you go. That wraps it all up, doesn't it? So they had their 3 balls in the air, plot-wise, and wrapped them all up.
Yeah.
Who was the big winner in that whole situation?
Well, Brent was undoubtedly the big winner.
Yeah.
In that situation, he breezes through the whole episode pretty much oblivious to the drama that's going on.
Yep.
All he knows is that
he's getting free lunches.
People think he's poor, so he's getting. He doesn't ask why. He's getting tips for serving people all of a sudden, or being bought lunch, or being given a bag of groceries, or any of this stuff. So he's having a great old time with it. Yeah, the reason why I think this one was so good was that each of the 3 storylines made me laugh individually.
Right.
But then, particularly the way it was resolved at the end with that scene at Corner Gas, where the money's changing hands, and first couple of times I watched it, I couldn't even really follow entirely what was happening, but it was just hilarious how the whole thing wound up. And then, of course, the icing on the cake is the last scene where Oscar's bought the jewellery for Emma, and it ties their storyline into it as well.
Yep.
Yep. And some of the other things, there's this series of guy jokes or jokes about guys going on. So that's kind of a theme. It starts with a really good one about, Brent says that a guy's TV size should reflect his age.
Oh, yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yep. I liked that.
He
says, it's very philosophical.
He says, this 50-inch TV is going to keep me going for a while. And I wanted to make some smart crack about it. And
what, you're not 50 now?
Yeah, you're not 50 now. Living dangerously.
How dare she?
Peeing standing up. There's a series of jokes about that.
Yeah.
And guys don't interact in meaningful ways. And they're able to tune people out.
Yes.
Although it kind of turns around and you have Lacey agreeing that guys can pee standing up and you shouldn't brag about it. And then she's also tuning Brent out by the end of the episode.
With the classic Charlie Brown adult
Is that what it
noise.
was?
Yeah, so in the Charlie Brown cartoons, whenever an adult's talking, it's always with what I'm guessing is a trumpet cornet thing. Yeah. So there you go. I thought you were down with that reference.
No, I didn't get it.
Aha.
That's great.
Ah.
So what was your favourite of the three storylines?
Well, I liked... Well, if I had to pick one of the three storylines, I'd pick the one where basically Hank just keeps thinking that Brent is poor.
Even though he's been told,
yeah,
Brent's not poor.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see Hank's a bit oblivious. So yeah, certainly I liked those ones set in the workplace better than what was happening at home with Emma and... I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name. Oscar, that's the chap.
Yeah, I think part of the fun of that is that you know that he's just gonna... He starts this fight, but he's not gonna finish
never
it on
gonna
top.
win. No,
it goes downhill pretty badly for him. What did you think about
with him having to dry himself with the bath mat because she's not washing his towels? Ah, dear.
What do you call that kind of long...
What, the shaggy pile bath mat thing?
Yeah, shaggy pile bath mat.
Who knows what's hidden in there?
Sand and hairs and...
all that sort of stuff. Maybe some nice mould. Who knows?
Mould.
Yeah. And I imagine with just the two of them there, even though Emma's probably an excellent housekeeper, but the bath mat probably wouldn't get changed all that often.
No.
No way.
There's a couple of little bits where they... I don't know, it wouldn't be breaking the fourth wall, would it? But, like, for example, Emma says, I take the clothes and I wash them in something called a washing machine. Oscar goes, I know what a washing machine is. And then it breaks into this little...
The scene of the washing fairies.
Of some Oompa Loompas or washing fairies.
The washing elves.
Doing the washing out of something like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
It's like a Family Guy cutaway, really. Before Family Guy cutaways existed. Yeah. So they'll mention something and then it cuts away to something else. And speaking of the breaking the fourth wall deal, then there's that whole Brent talking to the TV because the picture's so good. You feel like you're in the show.
Like you're in the show.
Yep.
And suddenly he's in the show eating his crisps and
with the newsreader. The
newsreader, who's probably some famous Canadian newsreader, turns around and complains about him.
Yep.
Making all this noise and can't he just shut up for something like that?
It's always good when that happens because, newsreaders have all the gravitas and the credibility, and then when they can go into a sitcom for their little cameo, it always works well, provided you actually know who the newsreader is and you can appreciate it.
Well, that just boosts it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what did you think about those bits? Did they take you out of it, or did you...
Oh, they did take me out of it, but I was just so impressed by how good the quality was on Brent's TV. And somehow, and I don't know if it was just watching it via YouTube or being in 480p or whatever it is, but the picture on Brent's TV genuinely looked better than the rest of the picture.
Yep.
They must be using different film stock. I don't know how it worked, but it was really well done.
Well, you pointed out that his apartment was really drab.
And it was. There was nothing hanging on the wall. There was an exposed pipe and all that. And I was thinking, good Lord, look after yourself, Brent. But then when you cut to all the other angles of his house or apartment or whatever, it seemed a bit more normal.
Yep. Well, he's a bachelor, so...
Yeah. He can keep it sparse and simple.
Yep. And it does seem like there's a scene where he goes over to have lunch at his folks' house, so maybe he doesn't spend much time at home. Well, he was certainly spending more time at home.
With a big screen TV?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they thought he was so poor that he couldn't afford to go out or something like that.
Oh.
Just sits at home in his house all lonely.
He's so broke.
So I just think, summing up, that's probably one of the best examples I've seen of having the multiple storylines running through the sitcom episode, and then them being brought together and resolved together at the end.
Well, you're right, and quite often shows might only do 2 plot strands, and they might struggle to bring them together. So having 3, that's what Seinfeld was masterful at, I suppose.
Yep. To
bring that up again. But yeah.
I think that particular scene in Corner Gas where they're changing the money, that was just absolute hilarious. It was genius. That's why I'm nominating it for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, it goes in. It took me a while with Corner Gas to figure out, okay, there's something going on here that I didn't quite get. And I realised probably about a third of the way in that there's no laugh track, which was a point of interest for me because it's a traditional sitcom and not a office mockumentary sort of deal. So it doesn't fall into the mockumentary camp. It's more traditional sitcom, but no laugh track. And then that's when I twigged. And then I could sort of concentrate on what was happening after that once I realised.
You can see they're filming it. You can see the outdoors when you're in some of these sets.
Yeah.
Like from
the
the
train
interior
going
of Corner
past
Gas.
and cars and all that sort of stuff.
At least some of them aren't fully enclosed sets.
So then you wouldn't have a studio audience.
Wouldn't have a studio audience.
But they haven't gone for canned laughter either.
No.
So I found that unusual. You got no comment on that?
No.
Did it occur to you at any stage?
I mean, it's got a low-key feel to it, which I think is keeping in with the small-town character of the place.
Yes. All right, well done, Steve. Canadian sitcom. It's good to have one in. I mean, I would struggle to pick one, so I'm very glad you've gone ahead and done that. It's very good.
All right, that was Corner Gas. Thanks, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.